good boy.
Good
Good boy.
morning, sir. Good morning,
Video
sir.
हुनुहुन्छ है and you want to get as many correct answers as possible. Part 3 and part 4 is going to be a little challenging, okay? Special in part 3 because you're going to hear the speaker's opinion. So let's try questions based on speaker's opinion and attitude. 24 to 27. Okay. First, actually यहाँ कसरी ब्रेकअप गरेको छ भने if you look at it 21 to 23 तीनवटा क्वेसन अनि रिमेनिङ 7वटा क्वेसन चाहिँ एकको ब्लकमा छ बट आई वोन्ट बी एबल टु डिस्प्ले अल अफ इट डिस्प्ले गरेर एकदम सानो हुन जान्छ अलराइट सो आई ब्रेक इट अप इन्टु टु पार्ट्स ठीक छ सो आई एम गोइङ टु ब्रेक इट अप इन्टु 24 to 27 मल्टिपल चोइस ओके सो टेक अ लुक अब हामीले एक्जाममा के गर्छौँ as I've already told you in the examination, Janice thinks, so this is Janice's opinion, that employers should encourage workers. Okay? Employers should encourage workers. Okay, let's simplify. If you convert this question into a question stem into a complete question, you could say, what does Janice think that employers should do to encourage workers? What does Janice think that employers should do to encourage workers? So you'll understand the question better. Now, next one. Janice suggests. So suggestion puni kaile direct hudaina. Okay? Yo speaker ko opinion ho. The suggestion is never given directly, it's always indirect. That managers may find it difficult. Managers may find it difficult. Janice suggests something about managers finding difficult. Okay? Janice believes, again, next one. Janice believes. So that's a belief, that's an attitude, that's an opinion. Again, employers should look for job applicants who. So when they're looking for job applicants, those who apply for jobs, what kind of job applicants should they look for? Okay, so Janice believes in what kind of job applicants managers should be looking for. Last one, Ferry, Janice believes managers should something. Okay, so look at those questions. Right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to play you 3. This is track 3.
Section 3. You will hear a tutor talking to two business students called Philip and Janice about their research on managing individuals. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 23.
Okay. That's something we've already tried. But let's listen to it anyways.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 23.
Well, you've both been looking at different styles of managing individuals in companies and the workplace. How's the research going, Philip?
Well, I've been looking at why individual differences are such an important area of management studies. When you think about any organization, be it a family business or a multinational company, they're all fundamentally a group of people working together. But it's what these individuals contribute to their places of work that makes you realize how important they are. Of course, they bring different ideas, but it's also their attitude. Diversity is important.
We have done this, I know.
Too.
So why do people behave so differently from one another at work?
There are lots of reasons, but research has shown that a lot of it comes down to personality. And the other factor is gender. It's a well-known fact that men and women do lots of things in different ways, and the workplace is no different.
Did you look at the effects of this variation on companies?
Yes, I did. On the positive side, exposure to such diversity helps encourage creativity, which is generally an asset to a company. But unfortunately, individual differences are also the root of conflict between staff, and they can lead to difficulties for management, which can sometimes be serious.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 24 to 30.
Okay, so we're not looking at 30, 24 to 27. So think of those keywords. And this is about speaker's opinion and attitude.
Now listen and answer questions 24 to 30.
Thanks, Philip. So now I guess the two main things to remember here are to identify individual talent and then to utilize it. So Janice, you were looking at identifying different talents in workers. Do you think this is easy for managers to do?
Well, currently, teamwork is in fashion in the workplace. And in my opinion, the importance of the individual is generally neglected. What managers should be targeting is those employees who can take the lead in a situation and are not afraid to accept the idea of responsibility.
That's true, Janice, but unfortunately, many managers think the entire notion of encouraging individuality amongst their staff is far too hard.
Yes, that may be true, but I think one of the most important tasks of managers is to consider the needs of the individual on one hand, and group cooperation and conformity on the other. It requires creative thinking on the part of management to avoid tension.
So, Janice, what kind of people do you think companies should be looking for?
Well, it has to start from the very beginning, when companies are looking for new employees. When the personnel department is choosing between applicants, they need to look for someone who's broken the mold and can think for themselves. Instead, people making these decisions often use a range of psychological tests to see if a person is a problem solver or will do as they're told. I'm not convinced these qualities are actually the most important.
So do you think being a good team player is overrated?
No, it's not overrated. You do need to learn the rules and learn them fast. No individual can get around this if you're working in an organization.
So how should managers deal with this?
Rewards. When an individual demonstrates the behavior the organization expects, some kind of incentive can be given. What's important here is that this happens right at the beginning, so new recruits learn the rules of the system immediately. Also, the incentive should be something the individual actually wants, and this isn't always just money.
Come back to you, Philip. You were...
Right. So this is what we call, that's always in part 3, okay? You're going to hear. Part 4, part 3, you're going to hear the speaker's attitude and speaker's opinion. All right. And answers, as I said, it's not directly given. Never directly mentioned. Just a moment. Richard? Just a moment. Lucian? Good. Okay, sorry about that. That's my kid's message from school. All right, so as I was saying, Junja answers himself about opinions, okay? It's kind of a little difficult. Access to view. What's this? It's a little difficult to find the answer, right? So you've got to be a little careful. Now let's look at this one. Janice thinks employers should encourage workers who are answer Alaska,
Potential leaders.
who are potential leaders. Yes. So how do you know potential leaders? यहाँ से क्या mention कर रहे थे? Janice, okay. Eli so गरौँ न त take some more replay गरिदिन्छु. We'll listen to this part for every
Fashion
question.
in the workplace. And in
I said. So, Janice, you were looking at identifying different talents in workers. Do you think this is easy for managers to do?
Well, currently, teamwork is in fashion in the workplace. And in my opinion, the importance of the individual is generally neglected. What managers should be targeting is those employees who can take the lead in a situation. And
What managers should be targeting is those employers who can take the lead. All right, who can take the lead. Means they're potential leaders. They're not afraid to take the lead.
not afraid to accept the idea of responsibility.
That's true, Janice, but unfortunately, many managers.
Okay, so here initially she starts with this. Currently, teamwork is in fashion. Okay, but I don't think that's the most important thing. So you're not going to pick this answer just because the word teamwork is mentioned. I don't think that's the most important thing. What managers should be focusing on are individuals who are not afraid to take the lead, potential leaders. Let's go on to 25.
think the entire notion of encouraging individuality amongst their staff is far too hard.
Yes, that may be true, but I think one of the most important tasks of managers is to consider the needs of the individual on one hand, and group cooperation and conformity on the other. It requires creative thinking on the part of management to avoid tension.
So, Janice,
Next answer, 25. 25. Anybody?
B.
Sir B.
B, exactly. Balance and conflict needs. Okay, so the Janice talks about how the manager must be able to balance group cooperation. There must be good group cooperation, but at the same time, the manager must also look into the individual needs of workers. Conflicting when it opposite. Conflicting. When there's a conflict, there's a disagreement. So conflicting means opposite, conflicting ideas. When I got opposite ideas. So one is group cooperation. You also have to look at internet cooperation. You also have to look at individual. Okay. Next, 26. Janice believes employers should look for job applicants who can think independently, will obey the system, can solve problems.
what kind of people do you think companies should be looking for?
What kind of people do you think companies should be looking for? What kind of people? What kind of job applicants? So, lots of paraphrasing, synonyms. Okay, you get to see a lot of synonyms.
Well, it has to start from the very beginning, when companies are looking for new employees. When the personnel department is choosing between applicants, they need to look for someone who's broken the mold and can think for themselves. Instead, people making these decisions often use a range of psychological tests to see if a person is a problem solver or will do as they're told. I'm not convinced these qualities are actually the most important.
So, do you think being a good team player is overrated?
Okay, I think there's something more here.
No, it's not overrated. You do need to learn the rules and learn them fast. No individual can get around this if you're working in an organization.
So how should managers deal with this?
So, what do you say? Next answer, Kiola.
Applicants, they need to look for someone who's broken the mold and can think for themselves.
Can
No.
think A, sir. A.
A.
Someone who's broken the mold. Okay? Mold ko spelling not M-O-L-D. M-O-L-D is Dusi. Okay? Dusi, fungus. Right. M-O-U-L-D. Mold means you're a cast. You're a fixed unit. And just say, factory, if you're manufacturing something, or you're manufacturing plastic buckets or mugs, right? Or someone is manufacturing statues, not handcrafted, but machine statues, right? Of gods and goddesses. They are molds, cast. Typically, the kappa linica. So it's much easier. But then when you have a mold, everything comes out similar. You know, you are making a mold of, let's say, you're making 100 pieces of statues of a particular goddess. It will be very similar. But then if you want to break the mold, you'll have to think independently. You know? So look in the mold. You can think independently. Now let's try the last question.
Instead, people making these decisions often use a range of psychological tests to see if a person is a problem solver or will do as they're told. I'm not convinced these qualities are actually the most important.
So, do you think being
Problem solver. So the word solve problem is also mentioned, but she uses it in a different context. She says, rather than looking for people who have broken the mold, all right, people actually, managers give them psychological tests to see if they are problem solvers. And Janice says, I don't think that's very important. For me, this is more important. Okay, last question.
being a good team player is overrated?
No, it's not overrated. You do need to learn the rules and learn them fast. No individual can get around this if you're working in an organization.
So how should managers deal with this?
Rewards. When an individual demonstrates the behavior the organization expects, some kind of incentive can be given. What's important here is that this happens right at the beginning, so new recruits learn the rules of the system immediately. Also, the incentive should be something the individual actually wants, and this isn't always just money.
Come back to you, Philip.
So, last one. Good, sir. Can you try the last one?
Sir C.
No. I'm not convinced this is the most important one. She talks about rewards, she talks about money, all right? But she says, I'm not convinced that this is very important. So this is mentioned, but it's not very important. What she says is that the company,
Yes, sir.
that the candidate must know the rules of the company early on. And you see, when there's a new employee, she must be told about the culture, the rules, and expectations of the company. So, in other words, encourage cooperation early on. B. So, you see, in case of, as I said, in case of these sort of questions, right, it's kind of tricky, right? You're not going to get a very specific answer. And it's kind of tricky because the answer is not directly mentioned. So unlike the kind of questions we tried earlier, when we are looking for specific information, that's much easier. So section 3 what I say is a really good card in this sense. All right, and you will definitely get a section where your multiple choice, and probably the multiple choice could also deal with the speaker's opinion and attitude. So how do we improve a speaker's opinion and attitude? What do we do? Because the answer is not directly mentioned, right? The best thing here, what I've noticed is, not only for this, not only just for this kind of question, speaker's opinion and attitude, but I would say in general, listening to overall improvement, like you say, all in all this 19 years of experience of teaching IELTS, what I've noticed is candidates who are interested in watching TV series, okay? As I said, the old-fashioned TV series where there's a lot of conversation. I've already mentioned like How I Met Your Mother, Big Bang Theory, Friends kind of TV series, right? When you watch those, you try to understand what they're trying to say. You try to understand the cultural jokes, some implied meaning. You're going to listen to a lot of idiomatic expressions, phrasal verbs. So all in all, it helps in the general improvement of English. Okay, you'll be speaking more natural English, and you'll be writing more natural English. So I would definitely encourage you to watch TV series. And what kind of TV series? As I've already told you, Friends, How I Met Your Mother, Big Bang Theory, your popular one. Hey, exam in them popular TV series. So you can watch them, you can rewatch them. Nowadays it's so simple, you could actually download it, and then the entire TV series, and then, well, you could binge watch it, if not all of it, in part-wise, whatever. It really helps. Mere experience, right? So it not only helps, watching TV series not only helps you to understand, main idea or speaker's opinion or attitude, but it certainly helps you in understanding and using phrasal verbs, idiomatic expressions, and using more natural English. Well, alternately, you could also watch, short lectures like TED Talks. TED Talks are very interesting. I'm sure you're doing that. Now let's go further. Some more questions left. 28, 29, 30. So multiple choice, this is sentence completion. Okay, so when you're completing the sentence, think about the word before the blank. Yes, are companies. When manager change, increasing the companies, maybe. And last one, you have the preposition of. Instruction, one word answer only. So you've got to read through it quickly, pick out some keywords. All managers need to understand their employees and recognize their company something. So the keyword here is understand the employees and recognize the company something. Also, when managing change, increasing the company's blank may be more important than employee satisfaction. So when managing change, increasing the company's something. And the last, during periods of change, managers may have to cope with increased amounts of something. Okay, where did Praveen go? I'll play this anyways. All right, Praveen, settle down. I'm just about to play this.
You were saying that recognition of good performers is essential. Now, what else?
Also, the incentive should be something the individual actually wants. And this isn't always just money.
Okay, here we start. 28, 29, 30.
To come back to you, Philip, you were saying that recognition of good performers is essential. Now, what else should managers be looking for?
Well, managing people means you not only have an understanding of your employees, but you also recognize the culture of the organization. In fact, for some organizations, creativity and individuality may be the last thing they want to see during working hours.
Very true.
Yes, but managing people isn't as easy as it looks. For example, change in the workplace can be quite tricky, especially if there's a need to increase profit. And at times like these, managers may have to give priority to profit rather than individual staff needs.
Yes, and that creates difficult situations for people.
Yes, but what's important is that managers are able to deal with quite high levels of personal stress. During times of change, they should be thinking not only about the strain on their staff, but take time out to think of themselves.
Absolutely. So, what are the implications of that?
All right, 28, Praveen.
Culture. Culture.
The company's culture.
Culture.
Yes, culture. Vijay, 29.
Sir, I'm in confusion.
Okay. I mean, confusion in the sense, which answers are you thinking of? Which word? Okay, never mind. Lubit sir?
Sir, I didn't.
Lubit sir?
Yes, sir.
What's the answer?
Sir, I didn't write. I mean, I didn't find the answer. I couldn't hear it. I couldn't hear it properly.
Okay. Yuvraj, finally it's up to you. What's the answer? Profit. Increasing the company's profit. Maybe more important than employee satisfaction. And what's the last answer? Anybody?
Strain.
Stress. Strain and stress. Managers may have to cope with increased amounts of, the word is personal stress, but here it says only one word, so our answer is going to be only stress. Okay, so that's section 3. Now look at how things are getting more difficult, right? First section, Sajilithu, second part, okay, manageable, first and second. Third, Garunda, your third. Now let's go into the fourth and final section. In the fourth and final section, all right, this is part 4. You have a total of 10 questions. Hang on there. So you have a total of 31, starting from 31, okay, goes right up to 40. So you have a total of 10 questions. But it's not possible for me to display all of it. It's going to be too tiny, near impossible to watch this. But in the examination, what will happen in the fourth section? Remember, the fourth part's a big, let's say. In part 1, part 2, part 3, you're getting 10 questions divided into 2 parts. And each set you're getting around 30 seconds to prepare. Okay, 20 to 30 seconds. In part 4, you have to look at all the 10 questions. There'll be no break. So you'll have to prepare for all 10 questions. And this is going to be a lecture. But the good thing is, in other parts, for every set of question, you're getting half a minute. Okay? Yachi, you're getting around 40 seconds. Okay, more than half a minute, 40 to 45 seconds. So 45 seconds and plus 1 minute carried from the previous section. Yeah, like section 3, go check your answer. Okay, so half a minute carried from there. So half a minute plus 40, 45 seconds. You're getting very good time. You're in fact getting more than 1 minute to prepare for all 10 questions. All right, so let's try this. However, here it's not possible to display all, so I'll have to break it up. So it says one word only. So first, let's break it up into these two parts. I want you to focus from 31 to 35. It's going to be a lecture. Think about the keywords. Pick out the keywords. And careful about this, the preposition is in. And then you will listen to this keywords, the next keyword, earliest explanation of engravings. They means the engravings, okay? They would mean the engravings here. So the engravings were used to help. But, tracks, unrealistic animal, more recent explanation. You by earliest explanation, this is recent explanation. Of animals with something. Alright, so well, that's the way it goes.
Section 4. You will hear part of a lecture about cave paintings and other types of rock art. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the first seminar in preparation for our archaeological fieldwork in Namibia. We are fantastically lucky to have received partial research funding for this trip from our institute, so I shall expect 200% attention and participation from you all. First in this seminar, I'm going to give a brief introduction to contemporary research on rock art. And in the second part, I'm going to give you some do's and don'ts for our fieldwork trip in April. So please listen very carefully. I'm first going to focus on the interpretation of rock art in India. We are very fortunate to be going to an area where you can find some of the most important sites in the entire world. And I hope to show you how easy it is for everyone to make mistakes in looking at cultures which are different from our own. The first and most important lesson we have to learn. In Namibia, there are both paintings and engravings. That's where the surface of the rock is cut out. Many of the engravings show footprints of animals, and most scholars used to think that the purpose of these was simple and obvious. This rock art was like a school book with pictures to teach children about tracks. Which track belonged to which animal, giraffe, lion, and so on. But there were some mysteries. First, when you look at a typical Namibian painting or engraving, you see the tracks are repeated. There are dozens of tracks for the same animal. Well, you'd expect just one clear illustration if the the aim was to teach tracking. Now, there were two more problems. Why are some of the engravings of animals very accurate, as you'd expect, all clearly identifiable, and others quite unrealistic. And another mystery, some of these unrealistic animals that's in the engravings seem to be half human. Some, for example, have got human faces. Many researchers now think that these were pictures the wise men engraved of themselves. They believed they could use magic to control the animals they had drawn, so the hunters could then catch them for food. This shows you some of the dangers of coming from one culture to another, as we'll be doing, without understanding it fully. Scholars imagine that children looked at rock art pictures to learn to track, just because they themselves had learnt skills from pictures. Many researchers now believe that rock art had a much more complex purpose, and we'll talk more about it next week.
Okay, so there's a slight pause. Okay, after the pause, then we go into the next set of question. But of course, there'll be no time for you to prepare. एउटा solid time दिन्छ, that's it. So, question number 31, I understand is going to be a little difficult, so I'll give you the answer. Preparation for full trip to Namibia the answer should be April, the month of April. April. They were used to help, 32, they were used to help?
Children.
Children, exactly. They were used to help children learn about tracking. But why are the tracks usually 33?
Repeated.
Repeated, exactly. 34, why are the unrealistic animals sometimes half
Human.
human? Okay, fine. Wise men may have been trying to control wild animals with?
Magic.
So when you think about lectures, like you might be thinking, oh, it's going to be very difficult. But as you can see, in case of lectures, it's still manageable, isn't it? So it's not all that bad. Listening is not all bad. Okay, listening is in fact the most scoring section in the IELTS. Listening. All right, so you should be able to do well in listening. So overall IELTS scores, if you want to check it up, the overall score, you should focus on listening. Okay, here we are. Let's go final set. But remember, exam is एक साथ जान्छ without any break.
Sir,
Yes.
so previous part मा तपाईले number 1 को April भन्नु भयो नि त्यो listening मा पनि April ले भन्नु थियो audio मा.
April एकदम April भन्ने थियो.
ए मैले सुन्दिन.
हैन त्यो प्राय सब स्टुडेन्ट कसैले पनि प्राय I don't think nobody got the answer. That's a difficult one. Okay, look at this now. One word answer. If you look at a site from so they're all going to Namibia. Remember, try to follow the lecture. The lecturer is talking to his students and they're saying, we're going to Namibia. Okay, Namibia is in Africa. And they're going to look at cave paintings. Very interesting. All right. So Namibia used to be a German colony. All right. Even now in Namibia, you have a lot of white people, and white when I go Germans. It was colonized by the Germans. And recently news went out in Namibia for the wrong reason. Back then, our 1870s, Namibia was colonized. The black people, they revolted basically against the Germans. And the Germans basically massacred the black people. I mean, there were cases where entire tribes were massacred. Entire tribes, including women and children. So I think recently Germany, they said sorry. Angela Merkel, German Chancellor, said sorry, and she was ready to pay some billion euros. But the black people, they were not happy with this. All right, so that's the scene. So even right now, the Germans are very rich in Namibia. They control most of the land out there. So that's Namibia, eh? So now try to guess for the answer, Yanni. Remember, guesswork is very important. You get some time to prepare, the keywords Like if you look at a site from a blank, you reduce visitor pressure. Your keywords by okay, keyword. To camp on a site may be disrespectful to people from that. That is important. Okay. So these words are very important. Your close words are. Yeah, your word important. Sir, we have an article A. Undiscovered material may be damaged by preposition again. They're all important prepositions. By. You should avoid blank or tracing rock art. Your tracing rock art will be mentioned. So a word that's associated with tracing rock art. In general, your aim is to live the site. So these are the keywords. Now the next thing that you have to do in listening is imagine you're like the goalkeeper. Copa America, maybe some of the boys, all right? If not Copa America, probably you're watching Euro 2020. And if you're watching, let's say, the penalty, for example. If you're watching the penalty, in a penalty shootout, think of the goal post. I mean, screen it's 10 feet by 8 feet, 10 by 8. And Ronaldo is taking the penalty. He's out the ball, the light on time goes through. When we were kids, we used to play so-called Russian football. Leather kunte, pani ma bhijta ta maika. Head garda khera afi chito. That hard. And त्यसको त्यो पम्प गर्ने जुन चाहिँ हुन्छ नि valve को त पुरा बानेको हुन्छ त्यसले टाउकोमा लाग्यो भने पुरा ठुल्ठुल्का निस्क्यो. So it was more like a weapon than a ball. I mean, leather ball. Or synthetic ball, they're very light. So now the goalkeeper, 10 feet go wide go, 8 feet go height ma. Ronaldo is shooting. You can't wait for the ball to come to you. It's too late. Jungle. So guess Ronaldo ko eye movement, body movement, and then you just guess and then you dive. So imagine you're a footballer. Guesswork. Very important guesswork. And guesswork will not give you the answers. You guess you will not get the correct answer in most cases. But why am I telling you to guess is because the moment you're trying to guess for the answer, that will keep you focused. Without that, you'll be looking around in the examination hall. Hey, I'll meet you later. I'll momo khanu chha. Sprite chha momo khanu. That kind of thing. All right, so guesswork will keep you focused because listening was half an hour listening. So half an hour listening, you might lose focus. And the focus lose, you start losing answers. So how do you keep focused? By trying to guess for the answer. Remember this. All right, you always look for the answer. So let's try to guess. If you look at a site from a blank, you would reduce visitor pressure. So you're going to cave paintings in Namibia. Where is that? All right. So you're going to cave paintings in Namibia, and you're not supposed to crowd into it. So you start looking at the painting from a guess. You look at the painting from a
place.
From a go on, say that again, Yuvraj.
Sir, maybe it was the name of place.
And the name of place to haina. What I'm trying to say is, our cave paintings crowd should reduce visitor pressure. So instead of crowding, okay, everybody crowding there in the cave painting, you will look at a site from a guess. Try to guess any word. Bibit sir, Yuvraj, anybody? Praveen? Okay, let's forget this. So you can't guess this. All right. Let's go on to question number 37. To camp on a site may be disrespectful to people from that. So these are very holy places, right? Black people, tribal people, like cave paintings. It has a lot of cultural value, religious value. So you're not supposed to camp on the site where they have these cave paintings. Because if we do that, that'll be disrespectful to people from that. Guess any word, from the village, that community, that area, that town. People from that area, isn't it? You could say area, village, community. Just so guess we're going to put it. The next one. Undiscovered material may be damaged by
touching, touching,
touching. युवराज ने के बने? Cigarettes. Children, okay. By negligence, by being careless. Something like that. अब correct हुनु पर्दैन नि त answer. Right? You want to stay focused, and it will help you to get to the answer. You should avoid blank or tracing rock art. Trace no whatever, yeah. You should not do. You should avoid maybe. Give me a word here. Anybody? Bibucha? Give me a word. Bibucha?
Yes, sir. Sir, touching.
Okay. What took you so long? Give me the word. You should avoid, let's say, touching or tracing rock art. Now, 40 area. In general, your aim is to leave the site maybe clean, undisturbed. Okay, something like that. All right. So let's get started.
Now, before I invite you to join in a discussion in this second part of the seminar, I'd like to make some very important points about our fieldwork, and in fact, any field trip to look at rock art. We're going to a number of sites, and we won't always be together. The single largest problem faced by people who manage the sites is, yes, I'm sure you guessed, damage caused by visitors, even though it's usually unintentional. Whenever you do go to a site, don't forget, you can learn many things from observing at a distance, instead of walking all over it. This can really help to reduce visitor pressure. People often say, well, there's only 2 of us, and just this one time. But maybe thousands of people are saying the same thing. And then, some basic rules to guide you. We'll have our own camp near a village, but remember never to camp on a site if you go on your own. It may be disrespectful to the people of that culture, and certainly don't make fires, however romantic it may seem. It's really dangerous in dry areas, and you can easily burn priceless undiscovered material by doing so. So, how are we going to enjoy the rock art on our field trip? By looking at it, drawing it, and photographing it. Never by touching it or even tracing it. Rock art is fragile and precious. Remember that climbing on rocks and in caves can destroy in a moment what has lasted for centuries. So, no heroics in Namibia, please. Try to be extra careful and help others to be too. Oh, and lastly, please don't even move rocks or branches to take photographs. You should leave the site intact. I'm sure I can rely on you to do that. Well, that's about all I want to say before today's first discussion. But if you have any questions, please ask them now. Oh, and
Okay, let's check the answer. 36. If you look at a site from a distance, you reduce visitor pressure. To camp on a site may be disrespectful to people from that
Culture.
case from the village, town, area, culture. Exact bhana, but it's kind of close. Okay, we're looking at word groups. And then undiscovered material may be damaged by
visitors,
fire,
children. Okay, the word was fire.
fire,
Okay, so please don't light a fire, no matter how romantic it might seem. That's what you heard. You should avoid the exact answer here, sir.
touching,
Touching, isn't it? So you should not be touching such fragile rock arts. And it generally aims to leave the site
intact,
in time,
us the word was undamaged, clean, something like that. Okay, so intact. So remember, listening Matai, the key to doing well in listening is practicing, number one. Okay, so you're going to practice from the Cambridge series. I'll be sending more of those Cambridge series to you. तिमीलाई 7-8 पठाएँ अझ अब धेरै नै बाँकी छ पठाउनु पर्ने. So you're going to practice from there.
7 पठाए छैन मलाई.
ए छैन?
छैन पठाएको.
Okay, let me note that. एकैछिन है. 7 को चाहिँ अलिक प्रब्लम भइरहेछ. I don't know. Yes, युवराज 7 को के भन्दैछ? मैले एक्सेस डिनाइड छ. त्यही त के भयो. मैले लिंक त्यो 7 को लिंक I'm not sure अब त्यो probably अलिकति बुझ्नु पर्ने रहेछ. How do you send the link भनेर. त्यो फाइल फिट भएन इमेलमा. So I tried to send it through the Gmail drive को Google Drive बाट. Google Drive बाट एकदम सजिलो हुन्थ्यो. त्यो Google Drive ले पनि अलाउ गरेन. हैन?
सर मेरो
बाट चाहिँ लिंक पठाउनु खोजेको लिंक पनि अब भएन. Let's try others. Anyway, अब 7 सबसे इम्पोर्टेन्ट चाहिँ मात्र हैन, अरु पनि छ. So I'll try to send others. अरु भयो भने त भइहाल्यो नि, हैन? अब अरु पनि भएन भने चाहिँ that's going to be a problem. Anyway, so listening को लागि चाहिँ तिमीहरुले प्र्याक्टिस गर्दाखेरि as I said, you got to listen more. जस्तै हिन्दी मुभी हेरेर हिजो आज त हिन्दी मुभी हेरेर सब कतिजना केटाहरू त साउथ इन्डियन मुभीमा लागेको होला. केटीहरू जति कोरियन ड्रामामा होला. हैन? आफ्नो आफ्नो चोइसहरु भइसक्यो. So South Indian movie, you know it, all is fair in love and war. In South Indian movies, anything can happen. Defies the laws of physics. So turn on the video. Go on, everybody. Turn on the video. Turn on your video. So listening, that's what you have to do in listening. Okay? Listen ko lagi say, so you got to get more practice. I'll be sending you more material. But when you look at questions, remember section 4 ko say set mount. And then after in the examination, after you write all your answers, you're given 10 minutes to transfer your answer from the question paper to the answer sheet. So when you transfer your answer, okay. It's a New York City ma Godzilla आइरहेको छ क्या. अनि after you transfer the answer 10 minutes मा चाहिँ that's when त्यो छुटेको answerहरु, so that's when you're trying to guess. त्यो छुटेको answerहरु बीचमा guess गर्ने हैन है. जति answer बीचमा छुट्छ नि, छुट्यो कि त छुट्यो. It's finished. There's nothing you can do about it. Don't try to guess for those answers in between. Never do that. छुट्यो भने छुट्यो. खाली एन्डमा गएर सबै आन्सर लेख्ने and then किन blank छोड्ने भनेर if you want to you could guess for the answer. So listening ma unlike reading comprehension, actually answer छुट्योपछि छुटिन्छ because there will be no replay. हैन? And in the exam first section start हुने हैन listening. So you want to do at least section 1, section 2 you want to do it well. Okay? Besides that, मैले YouTube-मा चाहिँ where are you? Okay, take a look at this. Your pronunciation को, okay? यो बीचमा कहाँ हराएको थियो, मैले बल्ल बल्ल खोजेर निकालेको फेरि यो मुन्नुन रशीद. Okay, just listen to it. सबै प्ले गर्दैन अलिकति. British and American English को pronunciation को, it's good. It'll give you an idea about this. Maybe you can take a screenshot of this. पछि खोज्नु सजिलो हुन्छ.
English pronunciation from espressoenglish.net. You might be able to recognize a British accent or an American accent, but do you know the details of the pronunciation differences? This lesson will teach you some of the major differences between British and American English, although there are some variations depending on what region of the country the speaker is from. British and American English have some differences in the stress of certain words. Listen to the pronunciation. First, the British English, and then the...
Okay, wait. Your British English, the words, the alphabets which are there in yellow, you stress on that. American Mate, you stress on the second part of the syllable. When you say adult, duita sounds in it. Sound like English ma sound na भनेर दुईटा syllables भन्छ syllable. A British English मा चाहिँ first syllable मा focus गर्दैछ, it becomes an adult. मा focus गर्दैछ, यहाँ चाहिँ second syllable adult. So यो भयो adult, यो भयो adult. Okay, listen.
The American English.
Adult.
Adult.
Ballet.
Ballet.
Brochure.
Brochure.
Garage.
Garage.
Vaccine.
Vaccine.
Advertisement.
Advertisement.
Hospitable.
Hospitable. Some words ending in ILE are also different.
Agile.
Agile.
Fertile.
Fertile.
Hostile.
Hostile.
Mobile.
Mobile.
Versatile.
Versatile.
The Americans are not pronouncing TILE as tile. Okay? Mobile. And of course, there are so many of this. So this is a good one that you could look at. Okay? And then I don't know whether you've watched this or not. You haven't
He was
watched
teaching
Purano.
English to foreign students
This is
last
a
term.
very old one. Just short one, eh? Okay, so this is an old one. पुरानो यो BBC को it's in 70s and 80s को basically. Okay, 80s को यो comedy series हो. It's a language class basically. All right, one person teaching language to different foreign students भनेर. It's kind of clean, nice, clean humor. पुरानो. But as you can see, quality is to sir. I'll just play you just a little. Maybe you'll find it interesting.
Excuse me, please, lady.
Yes, what is it?
I'm coming here for to be learning the English.
You're early.
Oh no, I'm Ali.
I beg your pardon.
My name is Ali. Ali Nadim. I'm coming here for to be learning the English.
Ah, yes. You wish to join our new class, English as a foreign language.
Yes, please. And I'm hoping to be unrolled.
Hoping to be unrolled.
Like it say in your syllabus.
You mean hoping to be enrolled?
That is what I said. Hoping to be unrolled.
Yes, well, I'm afraid you cannot be enrolled until the English teacher arrives. She should be here in a few minutes. In the meanwhile, perhaps you would care to wait in the classroom. Go down the corridor, turn left at the bottom, and wait in room 5. Understand?
No?
Well, let's start again. You go down the corridor.
Down corridor.
Good. Turn left.
Turn left.
Right.
Confusing me. Left or right?
It's left. Left. Look, you just go down the corridor, turn left, and wait in room 5. Room 5.
Ah, now I'm understanding you. Room 5.
Yes.
Jolly good, thank you. Oh, dearie me, I'm not going where I'm looking. No, I wasn't looking where I was going. That makes the two of us. Excuse me, sorry.
Enter.
Mrs. Courtney?
Miss.
Oh, sorry. I'm your new teacher, Jeremy Brown, BA, Oxford.
You're a man.
Yes.
But this is most unsatisfactory. This won't do at all.
I assure you my credentials are impeccable.
Academically, perhaps. I'm talking about sex.
I also assure you my morals are perfectly respectable, too.
I'm referring to the fact that you are a man. I distinctly requested the local authority to send me a woman teacher, especially in view of what happened with Mr. Warburton.
Mr. Warburton?
Yes. He was teaching English to foreign students last term. I'm afraid he only lasted a month. Then he departed.
Dead.
Demented. Yes, the strain was too much for him. Typical of the male sex. No stamina. Always seem to be able to cope.
Okay,
I'm looking forward to
let-
meeting them. I'm sure we're all going to get along extremely well. Good evening to Mr. Charles I'm pleased to meet you all. We are also pleased to be meeting you. I am Brown. Oh, no. You are committing a mistake. A mistake? Yes, please. You are not Brown. We are Brown. You are what? My name is Brown. I am your teacher.
Ah, you professori!
Yes.
What?
Thank you. Right, would you all like to sit down? Sit down. So. Right, I'll just take a note of all your names, nationalities, and occupations. Right?
Por favor, señor.
Yes?
Es la primera vez que vengo. ¿Es esta la clase para aprender inglés?
Well, I haven't the faintest idea what you're saying, but I'm sure you're not trying to find the needlework club.
Por favor.
It doesn't matter. Have a seat.
Por favor.
Sit down.
Ah, sí.
No, not there.
Por favor.
There.
Ah,
Right, I'll just go around the class and take your names. Yes? Ah, yes. What is your name?
Maximilian Andrea Archimedes Papandreou.
Then I'll just put you down as Max. Take it you're Greek?
Is right, from Athens.
Good. And what is your job?
I walk with sheep.
Walk with sheep. So a shepherd, you work on a farm?
No, not far.
But you just said you work with sheep.
No. Sheeps. Big sheeps. Yes, sheeps. Tonkers. Right. I work in office.
And your name?
Anna Schmidt, German au pair.
Usual German efficiency?
Germans are always efficient.
Not her. So. Japanese. Much more efficient.
Nine Germans are the best.
Japanese make a much better television and cameras.
No, please, let us have no racialism. you what?
I work in a ristorante dei popoli.
A waiter.
No, not a waiter, a cucita. Sì, a cucita ravioli, a cucita spaghetti, a lasagna, a cucita everything.
A chef.
Okay, so I think we'll have to stop here. It's nice. It's nice. So you can try this. This is called Mind the Language. Purano sir. The video quality, of course, typically. So I think we'll end it here. And so that's the end of our listening. Monday we're going to start with speaking. So it's going to be speaking, right? Yes, someone is saying something. What's the course leader? I know, don't get confused. RTS भनेको चाहिँ RTS will test your English level. है खाली English को तिम्रो level कतिसम्म छ भनेर. It's not a language course. Okay, so RTS को test भिन्दै छ. अब English institute मा गएर म language सिक्छु भने I don't know, अब it depends on the institute. Speaking more language सिक्छु भने it depends on the institute. अब एकदमै पोर्सम त भएन नि आरटीएस टोफलहरुको लागि त अलिकति लेभल चाहियो नि त इंग्लिशको थोरै लेभल छ एकदमै पोर्सम त मैले त कति जना स्टुडेन्टलाई त त्यसरी नै ल्याङ्ग्वेजमा रेफर गर्दिन्थे ल्याङ्ग्वेज क्लासमा हैन पोर्सम नै कान्ट हेल्प सो आरटीएस टोफलहरुको लागि या एसएटी को लागि वी नीड अ सर्टेन लेभल अफ इंग्लिश है त अनि Priya
Yes sir.
What do we do? I mean, your weekly test ko ke garcha your week?
Your week the Sunday test गर्नु पर्ला. हजुरको यो listening सकिएको हो?
Listening सक्यो. Monday we are starting with speaking.
हजुर.
All right, so maybe सबैजनाले listening test को लागि Sunday same time 10 o'clock. You should all be here. Same time class को time मा चाहिँ you will take the listening test. ठीक छ? जस्तै त्यो चारवटा सेक्सन छ नि त्यो चारवटा सेक्सनको one full section listening को टेस्ट गर्ने त्यसको आन्सर्सहरु चाहिँ पेपरमा लेखेर you take a camera shot अनि you send it to me. तिमीले त्यो राइटिङ टास्क वन गरेको छ अनि म चेक गरेर तिमीहरुको स्कोर्स पठाइदिन्छु है त so it's going to be a listening को टेस्ट. Okay? Is that clear? Vijay, Bibutsa, Yuvraj, Praveen?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you all will be taking.
Yes, sir.
Sunday, you'll be taking the listening test. So we're going to end it here. All right. So I'll see you on Sunday then.
Sir, have a nice day.
Okay, you too have a nice day. Everybody have a nice day.